watching the Mystical Green Beanie.
Hey, what's going on, dudes and dudettes? I am the Mystical Green Beanie, and today I'm actually gonna finish working on my Ultimate Spider-Man Mega Review because I noticed that I never actually finished it. And I just said actually twice. You know, that was the result of me having a low sense of morale, especially since, relatively speaking, the last installment in that series didn't perform so well. Mostly because, and let's be honest here, a lot of Spider-Man fans have some hang-ups about Miles Morales as a character. Regardless, I don't like not finishing things. So, with that said, welcome to part 6 of my Ultimate Spider-Man Mega Review, and in today's episode, we're going to be tackling the crossover event Spider-Man, written by Brian Michael Bendis and drawn by Sara Pichelli. So, right off the bat, this series takes place sometime between the United We Stand story arc and the Venom War story arc, because Miles is still extremely young and hasn't retired yet like he does around issue 21 or 22 like he does in the main Ultimate Spider-Man series. Plus, S.H.I.E.L.D. is still a thing, and they're dismantled after Galactus eats the Ultimate Universe New Jersey. So, this has to take place in that time frame. Anyways, as the story begins, Peter Parker of the main Marvel Universe is doing his usual routine, beating up bad guys and whatnot, and then the cops show up and start harassing him because, well, he's Spider-Man, and that's just the way Bendis writes that type of interaction between the police and Spider-Man, which I like personally, but continuity-wise, it's very weird. Especially in the main Marvel Universe, where Spider-Man was an Avenger, so that's weird. But moving on. Anyways, while he goes about his night swinging around the city, he notices a bright light flashing in the distance, and he goes to investigate. And what he finds is that this is actually one of Mysterio's safe houses, and just as he's about to, do whatever he's gonna do, he ends up being attacked by Mysterio, and the two have a wonderfully drawn fight by Sara Pichelli. And in the mayhem, they accidentally trigger one of the devices in Mysterio's work area, which opens up a portal that sucks Spider-Man into it. And when he comes out on the other side, he notices that the time of day has changed, as well as the scenery. He sees the Triskelion and the destroyed remains of the Fantastic Four's old headquarters, the Baxter Building, and he's so confused. So he goes back to the location of the safe house, and once he crashes in, he sees that he's in a naked woman's apartment, and he pieces out, because that's totally not the safe house. So as Peter's about to make his way over to the Triskelion to get some answers, because he just assumes that the big ugly building in the center of the Hudson is going to give him answers, he notices a dude getting jumped. And after he does his Spider-Man thing and rescues the guy from, getting beat up and whatnot, and the dude turns to him and says, "Thanks, bro, but come on, bad taste. You can't be out here wearing Peter Parker's old costume." And this is where Peter starts to freak out. But as he's trying to swing away and clear his mind, he runs into Miles. And at this point, Peter's on full Dilligaff mode. If people still say Dilligaff, that is. Anyways, he doesn't care. He sees someone wearing a Spider-Man costume after some rando on the street told him that he knows that Peter Parker was Spider-Man, and he just starts going in on Miles. But he ultimately loses because he underestimates him. And when he wakes up, he's in one of the Triskelion holding cells. And this is where he's greeted by Ultimate Nick Fury. And the two have a really funny back and forth, which ends with Peter going on one of his neurotic monologues. And Nick Fury just shakes his head like, yeah, that's Peter Parker, alright. So Nick Fury decides to assign Miles to show Peter around the city and show him what happened to the Peter Parker of this universe, but before they can do so, they're attacked by Mysterio of the Ultimate Universe. Now, what this book does is it retcons this version of Mysterio to be the classic main universe Mysterio using a remote-controlled body. Because comics. And there's a huge fight between Miles, Peter, and Mysterio, which is really cool and fun, and again, beautifully drawn. And after the fight is over, Peter goes around New York asking the citizens what happened to the Peter Parker of this world, and they tell him that he died fighting the good fight. And from there, he heads to Aunt May's house, just out of pure impulse, and when he reaches her house, all of their neighbors are watching. And Peter lifts up his mask because, after all, in this universe, he's dead, so there's no real danger to protect her from. But when he does, Ultimate Gwen Stacy runs out of the house and she just starts beating on him. And Miles shows up and he vouches for him, and once he does, Aunt May faints. Because apparently, this poor old woman can't get a break. Anyways, Aunt May wakes up on her living room couch and she makes her way upstairs to Peter's old room. And there she sees Peter entertaining Gwen and Miles, telling them stories about some of his old adventures and some of the things about their main universe doppelgangers. Peter even brings up MJ and tells them that in the main universe she's a supermodel, which Gwen just cannot, for the life of her, comprehend that. Because in the Ultimate Universe, MJ is a nerdy goth chick. And then Aunt May asked if there's an Uncle Ben where he's from, and if he's alive. And Peter tells her that he's not, and that his death is the reason he does what he does, because with great power, there must also come a great responsibility. And it's that moment right there, where Aunt May looks into Peter's eyes and she just hugs him. And it's a beautiful moment, because Aunt May sees before her the man her nephew would have become. And if this is the man that he would have shaped into, then she and Ben did a good job. And then they joke about Ultimate Peter Parker dating Kitty Pryde, which main universe Peter is like, gross. But after that, S.H.I.E.L.D. agents arrive at the Parker house to get Peter and Miles, but just before they leave, Peter notices in the crowd Ultimate MJ. But unfortunately, before he can say anything, she freaks out and leaves. It's a small moment, sure, but it's very beautifully written, and it's very beautifully drawn, and I just really love that interaction, or lack thereof. So Peter gets back to the Triskelion, and he interacts with the Ultimates, who are this universe's version of the Avengers, and they have a fun little back and forth as well. Peter even makes a joke about how Tony Stark in the main universe stopped drinking a while ago. But after all the fun and games are over, Peter and the Ultimates figure out where Mysterio is, and they go beat him up. And Nick Fury arrests him, and suggests to Peter that they keep Mysterio in the Ultimate Universe in order to keep his secret identity safe, which Peter agrees to. So Peter goes home, but before he does, he gives Miles an official blessing to be Spider-Man. And just before the story ends, Peter gets to his apartment and Googles Miles, and he's shocked to discover nothing. Because apparently in the sequel to this event, there were no results found. But we don't actually know that for like another 6 years. But yeah, that was the story. As far as the art goes, it's done by Sarah Pichelli, who I absolutely love. But if I'm gonna be honest, I think we've been spoiled by her more recent works, because there were small things here and there that just kind of stood out to me when I was reading this. And it's never anything horrible, but there are just some web lines on both the Spider-Man costumes that either look out of place or just weird looking, or certain facial expressions are just off. And you don't really see that in her more recent work. But going back, yeah, I'm really glad that she's grown as an artist in the past few years. But yeah, this was a really fun book. It's not deep or anything, it's just a really fun ride. It's a good Michael Bay movie, and that's the best way that I can describe it. It's a feel-good story, and it hits all the notes that it needed to hit at the time. Now, it does read a little fanfiction-y, and again, that's not a knock against fanfiction. I write fanfiction, I have friends who write fanfiction, but come on, you know what I mean. There are moments in the story that feel less like a natural progression for characters, and more like moments Bendis wrote to satisfy Bendis. But all that aside, this was just a damn fun story, and I think it was a pretty good story considering that it was the first time the Ultimate Universe and the main Marvel Universe ever crossed over. But yeah guys, those are my thoughts on the book, but what about you? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know down below in the comment section. Also, if you like this video, hit the like button, share, support the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, all you have to do is subscribe. I'm the Mystical Green Beanie, thank you for watching, and as always, until next time, adios nachos.
This the kind of beat that go by.